Ladies and gentlemen, I am very fortunate. We are very fortunate to have Brian Kitts here, and I'm going to let Brian tell you about what he does. And I've asked Brian to speak based on his perspective and his expertise, how things are going with COVID and post-COVID. So Brian, tell us, what is it that you do?
Sure. I handle marketing and communications and ticketing operations and all corporate partnerships and corporate marketing for Denver Arts and Venues, which is the city agency that oversees the Performing Arts Complex, the Colorado Convention Center, the Denver Coliseum, and what we call the pretty sister in the group is Red Rocks Amphitheater. And so I get a little bit of a unique perspective in that we've got indoor and outdoor venues. My entire career has been in sports and entertainment, and it's a fun gig when COVID hasn't shut everything down.
That's right. And that's actually why I asked you on. I love the fact you call it the pretty sister. So if you've grown up here in Colorado, you're like, if you haven't seen a show at Red Rocks, people will give you the stink eye. It's like that's the place to see a show. So how, I mean, I kind of think we all understand at a macro level what's happened with COVID, but from your perspective, Red Rocks and others, how has it impacted those businesses directly? And we're at a weird moment right now with the change of, okay, now you go without a mask, et cetera. How is it looking now?
So it's looking better. I think that's the good news. And I think, capacities are increasing. We'll be at 6,300 this week, and then at full capacity by the third week in June. That said, it'll be good to get back to normal because, basically we've been shut down for a year and a half. And I think one of the things that people don't realize about the sports and entertainment industry is it's not just the players or who's up on stage that's affected, or who's actually, in that venue that particular night. And it's a lot of stagehands. It is painters, it is concessionaires, it's security and parking staff, but it's also florists. It's the guy who delivers the beer, and it's the guy who makes the beer. And so sports and entertainment, has this ripple effect throughout the entire economy that has been deeply affected by COVID. In the same way that any other, business that has lots and lots of different parts has.
What do you think? And so that's a big machine to start back up, right? So it's not a flip the switch because many of those people have had to go find other gigs and do other things. How, do you have a time frame, or what do you think that kind of immersion, coming out of it looks like?
I think the interesting thing is we had assumed that it was going to be a gradual increase, and it's not. We're going from 0 to 100 almost overnight. Last summer we were doing shows and yoga sessions for 175 people. This year we're doing, we started out at 2,300, then we're going to 6,300, and then full capacity at Red Rocks, which is almost 10,000 in the space of about a month. And so, concessionaires and security people are struggling to find bodies to fill those positions, but there's certainly the demand is there. Everything that we put on sale has sold out almost immediately, and so there's a lot of pent up need and want for sports and entertainment, whether it's music or arts. For better or worse, people have saved thousands of dollars over the course of the last year, and so the money is actually there. And I think that's one of the interesting things that we're finding as well.
Yeah, it's interesting from talking to students. Brian Kitts also teaches for us at Daniels. So you've probably seen it as well, which is there is this, you use the term pent up. That's exactly the feeling I get from our students, which are as soon as I can, right? And actually one of my students suffered through one of my classes after watching Diplo the other day. He's like, I'm so tired.
Oh, sucker.
Like, it's okay to not be here and watch the recording. He's like, absolutely not. I'm like, okay, it's all good. So barely survived for sure. And so, so it's interesting, 0 to 100. So what, we've kind of watched the increase in, and this is not an industry, the increase in lumber prices, increase in steel prices, et cetera. Is there going to be some wide swing where all of a sudden things are way more expensive or way less expensive or whatever because we've, because of what's gone on and the quick rise?
We kind of thought that early on, and at least in the entertainment industry, I don't see that happening. Shows that we've put on sale have gone up at the same ticket price they would have last year. Part of the reason is that a lot of those shows just flipped from 2020 to 2021.
Yep.
On the other hand, there have been plenty of new shows that could have, probably raised their prices. And there was a lot of conspiracy theory about, artists doing that. It just hasn't panned out. I think there's something, there's probably a special place in hell for promoters who decide that they are going to take advantage of the fact that, people have the extra money and jack up prices. But, we haven't seen that, and it's a relief. I think what we have seen, though, is, again, spending not just on individual amount or individual shows, but the amount of money that's spent on concessions. Those per caps on a nightly basis, we would be generally happy with 21, 22 bucks. Right now, people are spending per head up to $31 a night, which is almost a 30% increase over what they would have spent in the past. So it's a lot of beer, it's a lot of hot dogs, and that's going to, I think that increases over the course of the summer.
Totally agree. I think I refer to it as the 1.5 year long winter. And when I get to finally go out, you're like, oh, watch this. My wallet will be half the size it was before the beginning of the show. You're like,
right.
I'm going to kill it. And I agree with you. I think that makes a ton of sense, because if fans are coming to see me, I'm only going to make fans more unhappy. I remember I asked you last summer, I'm like, so if you're at a third capacity, could I charge 3 times as much for a ticket to make it up? And you were quick to go, that's a great way to chase away fans.
Yeah.
So if you're headed to the show and you are vaccinated, then as I understand the new rules, you don't have to wear a mask.
That's right.
I think they're using the honor system as far as if you're not vaccinated, please wear a mask. Is that the way it works?
That is how it works.
Okay. So do you foresee any issue with that, or are we going on the honor system? Because I've heard a lot of people kind of snicker and go, that sounds awesome. Because you can still get sick, right, if you don't have it, or even if you've been vaccinated. But you have any feel for that at all?
I think we have to be realistic about, both the willingness of, I would say the majority of our fellow fans to get the vaccine and do what's right, but know that there are always going to be cheaters and liars. And, I hate to say it, but, we've been doing on-site vaccinations at Red Rocks, starting last week, trying to get people where they are. And we've had, I felt we would have been fine if we would have gotten even one person vaccinated a night. And, it was 25 or 30 people a night, which I think was good.
That's awesome.
That said, I think that, you can tell when you ask somebody whether or not they're honest. When I say, have you been vaccinated? Do you want a free vaccination? Nope, we're good. I've been vaccinated. They turn away really fast. And
that's right.
This is an industry that relies on everybody being together in the same place. And so, I think that I hope that there is continued peer pressure to, if that the person sitting next to you isn't vaccinated, you're still at risk. And I think we need to be realistic about that if we're going to, conquer this completely and get our industries back to normal.
Agreed. Listen, Brian, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Brian, you are literally the busiest man in show business right now. So I really appreciate the time. And
glad to do it.
Here's to returning back to normal. Great. Thanks again.